everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. After we had another adventure traveling around the cities of the Cthulhu mythos in Pandemic, Reign of Cthulhu last week, today we're going to try to escape the sinking of Atlantis as we play Atlantis Rising. In this game, we're trying to gather the resources we need to build the various components so that we can escape the sinking of Atlantis and help the residents escape. We'll do this by sending our various workers to locations around the board to gather those resources, but we need to be careful because we'll also be dealing with the wrath of the gods who are furious with the decadence of the residents of Atlantis. For this game, there is a dedicated solo mode, but I find it easier to just play a team of characters and play the game the normal way, since this is a cooperative game. But anyway, let's start by meeting the cast of our leaders who are going to be trying to help us escape Atlantis. Our first leader that we're going to be using today is the Artificer. So she'll be our first lead, our first player of the game. She'll be doing everything in red. She's got her red leader and then 3 workers. There are 3 more on the Wrath of the Gods track that you can get throughout the game going to the cities, and I'll explain more on that when we go to take a look at the board. But anyway, each of our leaders has a special ability. In the case of the Artificers, when you place your Atlanteans, you may place your leader on an empty placement spot on an unbuilt component. For this round only, that component is available for use by your leader and others, though following usual placement restrictions. So that'll make a little more sense when we go over and look at the board when we go over and look at the components that we need as well. But we can use those. We will be able to use the unbuilt components as if they're built this turn. But anyway, each of our leaders will also start off with 2 Mystic Energy, 2 of these tokens, and you can use those in 4 ways. So the first way you can use it is when you roll a die. So say we get a roll. Say that's our roll. Also, advance apologies before I continue talking about this Mystic Energy. I'm still kind of battling the creeping crud a little bit, but my voice is definitely holding up well enough that we're going to go ahead with this video as normal. So, say that was our roll and I needed to boost it. Actually, here's a better example. We'll roll a single die. Say we're on a space where we need a 4. I can spend a Mystic Energy to bump that die up to a 4 and actually pass the result. So it's basically spend 1 Mystic Energy per extra point you want on your roll. So that's one way we can spend it. Another way we can spend Mystic Energy is when we're on the libraries, and I'll explain more about that when we go up to the board. We can spend that to keep an extra card from that action. Then we can spend 4 to place a Mystic Barrier out, which these Mystic Barriers can be used to prevent a tile on one of the sections of the board from flooding. But we do have to be careful because we won't be able to use that we can use that to eat a controlled flood, but we'll still have to eat one more tile. And then 5 Mystic Energy to unflood a tile, where the leaders can combine on the Mystic Barrier and the unflooding of tiles. So it'll make a little more sense as we go through the game. But basically we flood from the outside in, we unflood from the inside out. So we need a lot of Mystic Energy if we get in trouble in a hurry. But anyway, that's the Artificer. Now let's go meet our Artificer will be doing everything in red. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. I'll make sure I will. But anyway, now that we'll do it for the Artificer, now let's go meet our second leader. Our second leader today is the Guardian. She'll be doing everything in blue, and the special ability for the Guardian: when a tile on the same peninsula as your leader is about to be flooded, you may prevent this tile from flooding by returning your leader to your pool without taking its own action. So if we have the Guardian leader out somewhere, and somewhere that we really need, we can pull the Guardian's leader back to prevent that tile from flooding. So that can be very helpful on a defensive front, but anyway, that will do it for the Guardian. Now let's go meet our last leader. Our last leader is another very defensively minded leader in this game. So we have the Astrologer, who will be doing everything in yellow. You may place your leader and up to 2 other Atlanteans after everyone suffers misfortunes, but before anyone takes actions. So we'll be using that most likely to take the furthest out of whatever action we really need at the moment. So, again, very defensive-minded there. But as you can see, and we'll go through this more carefully when we go through the round, but the round will take place over 4 phases. So we'll have to place Atlanteans, then we'll suffer misfortunes, then we'll take our actions, then we'll endure the wrath of the gods. But that'll make more sense when we actually go through a round of the game. But anyway, that will do it for the astrologer, that will do it for our leaders. Now let's go take a look at our first look at the board. Here's our first look at the board. So the various groups of spaces, we have the forests, which we can go to when we're trying to get crystals. Those will look like these are our crystals, and hey, look at that. Actually, I remembered to use the cups this time, which will make life very easy. We get those from the forest. You can see the die here is the result that we need to actually succeed at the action. And the space here is how many Atlanteans that can support. So, for instance, most of the outermost spaces can support up to 1, the exception being the cities up here, where you need 2 to be able to roll the action at all. Then it moves where you can support more the further in you go. In the mountains, we're trying to get ore, which then goes over to the forge to be smelted into Atlantium, which we'll need when we go to build the components, but I'll explain more of that when we move over there. Then in the hills, we can try to get gold out of those. Once again, you see the die over there. Then we have the libraries where it goes further out, where the further out you go, the more cards you'll draw from the library deck. Actually, you'll always draw 2, but the further out, you might keep... The furthest out, you'll keep both of them, then you'll put 1 on the bottom for these next 2, then you'll have to discard 1 for the rest of these. But... And then up at the cities, that's where we'll go to get additional workers. So basically, that space is going to be useless to us until we advance up the Wrath of the Gods track a little bit more. But we'll go ahead and... But that'll cover the initial look at the board. Now let's go look at the components that we need. Our goal in this game is, I don't know if I mentioned this already, but our goal is to build all 9 of these components plus the power core, getting them up onto this board. We win if we're able to do that. And then we lose, but we lose if everything gets flooded in Atlantis. So anyway, let's take a look at our components. So first, we have the pressure keel, which takes a crystal and a gold. But this will let us, when it's on the built side, actually, I think it's got to go, I think this is the unbuilt side, and then blue is the built side. So it'll be here on yellow, and then they'll go in on the... So they'll be on this side out here, and then once I build them, I'll flip them over here and put them on the built side. So the pressure keel, once we build this, we'll shuffle all Calm Seas back into the Misfortune deck. And that's a one-time thing. You can see... It might have been a little hard to see on the tile on the board spaces. In fact, I'll go ahead and grab one of those now. So that's the space to indicate that you can place an Atlantean or a leader there. Whereas on this component, we don't have that space, so we don't have that space to place the Artificer's leader. But we also, it might be hard to see, but there are 3 spaces up here where we would have to place... Actually, it looks like there's 2 and then a 5+. But... So presumably that space is only available when we have 5 or more players. But anyway, coming back to our components, next we have the Secular Bulwark. That's going to take 2 gold and an Atlantium, which will let us unflood 1 flooded tile. So if we have something we really need to protect, then that will be how we do that. Next up we have the Solar Matrix that takes 2 crystals, which will let us place 1 Mystic Barrier. Then we have the Cognitive Transfer, which takes a crystal, a gold, and an Atlantium, which will let us draw 3 library cards and distribute them among the counselors, aka the players. Last up for the A components, we have the the Auger Turbine, which takes a crystal and 2 Atlantium. Draw 3 misfortunes, discard any number, then return the rest to the top of the deck. This might as well read, draw 3 misfortunes, keep any calm seas you find, discard the rest. At least that's my initial impression of it. Then we get into our actual action components, where we have the matter converter. So this will take 2 gold and 2 Atlantium, where it'll let us exchange one of our resources for any other. And unlike the other components, we do have action spaces down here where we can send the Artificer, and then we'll have them on the backside as well once we get that activated. Next up, the Mystic Siphon for 2 crystals and a gold, which will let us gain 2 mystic energy when we place a leader there, or when we place a worker there. Then we have the Entropy Drive, which takes in a crystal, 2 gold, and 2 Atlantium, which will let us roll a die and collect based on the result. 1 gives us a mystic energy, 2 gives us a volunteer, which is basically just an additional worker in addition to the Atlanteans. 3 is some ore, 4 is an Atlantium bar, 5 for gold, 6 for a crystal. Then last up we have the Numinous Beacon for 2 crystals and 2 gold. Next round you get 2 volunteers. So the volunteers, I'll point those out a little bit more when we go up to the Wrath of the Gods track. Then the last thing we have to build is the Power Core. So this takes 2 of everything. So 2 crystals, 2 gold, 2 Atlantium, and 2 mystic energy. We have to build this last, and each counselor must use their leader to build in contributing at least 1 required resource or mystic energy. So we will need to be mindful of that toward the end of the game. But anyway, those are all of our components. Now let's take a quick look at the Wrath of the Gods track. So here's our first look at the Wrath of the Gods track. As you can see up here, each Atlantean has 3 extra workers there, so when they go to the city's space, the city's tiles, that's how they can gain those extra workers. Then the volunteers come out from various card effects, so these are the volunteers. There might be cards in the library deck that give us volunteers. One of the components actually gives you volunteers, the Numinous Beacon, when we build it. But that's the primary way we get volunteers. Now, the Wrath of the Gods track is going to interact with our game in 2 ways. First of all, at the end of the round, we'll have to flood tiles equal to where the Wrath of the Gods is currently at, and then we advance down the track. When we get to 3, we just stop and don't advance the track any further. But the other way that'll interact with our game is on the city's space. So say we've gotten to 1 on the Wrath of the Gods track. When we go to the city's space, and I'll point this out more when we actually do it, we'll actually add that to our resulting roll to determine if we get an extra worker or not. So, for example, if we have a worker that goes to the city space, and this is our current level on the Wrath of the Gods track, that's our roll. So so we get a 3 there, plus 1 is 4. That wouldn't succeed anywhere to get us an extra worker, but that's how that's both ways that the Wrath of the Gods track will interact with our game. But I think that's everything all set up. So let's move back up top and we'll get this game started. Looking at the board right now, it's the first round of the game, so we basically need everything at this point. But I will send the Artificer leader over to the Mystic Siphon so I can get some energy mystic energy right away. Then I'll send the workers. I'll put 1 over here for ore. Actually, I'll put 1 for a crystal. Actually, I'll send the other 2 out for gold. Then the Guardian... I'll actually put the Guardian out to the outermost of the city. Then I'll put the leader down here, mostly so I can protect that city's tile just in case I get it flooded. Then we'll try to get moving on. I'll send the other 2 leaders out, or the other 2 workers out to get crystal in the forest. Then the astrologer is only going to place 1 worker now before we suffer misfortune. So I'm going to send her out with the... I'm going to send her first worker out with the Artificer's first worker to try to get some ore. So, now we're going to go ahead and suffer misfortunes. So this is basically just bad things that could happen, or tiles that flood. So first up we find the city's floods. So what will happen is we'll take this tile and we'll flip it over to a flooded space. Second up, we flood the forges. Oh, this is going great. So we flood the outermost one of that as well. Then, cities again. That's going to be fun. So we're going to lose our access to workers pretty quickly if we're not careful. And, so the way this game is modified for a... Normally you draw a misfortune card per player. But for a 3-player game, after each player has drawn and resolved a misfortune, we draw an additional one. So we draw... So basically we end up with with a minimum of 4 misfortunes for every round. So anyway, this one, Earthquake. This round, all target numbers are increased by 1. Oh joy. Okay, so the astrologer is going to... So now the astrologer gets to place her leaders. So I'm going to put her extra workers. So I'm going to place her leader at getting gold. I'm going to place a worker trying to get more ore. And one to get some crystal. So that's not a good thing to have happen this early in the game. But anyway, now we start to take our actions. So first we'll have the... Guardians worker and leader that are both of the libraries go. So we get to draw... So for the worker, we get to draw 2 cards from the library deck and keep both of them. So first card up. There's a puzzle of production. 1 leader in a wild peninsula may take its action 2 additional times this round. Probably not that helpful to use since our... Probably not that helpful to use this round since our targets are increased by 1. And... Librum of Unity. Choose a wild peninsula. 1 additional Atlantean may be placed on each of its tiles this round. So if we need to get a jump on producing something, we can use that to get going on that. So that worker comes back. Next, the leader is going to draw 2 cards and put 1 of them on the bottom of the deck. The iconography I know is hard to see, but that's what it translates to. So first card up here is Foresight, revealing misfortune cards equal to the number of players, minimum 4, and discard any number of them. Replace the rest in whatever order you choose. Once again, translation, draw 4, keep calm seas, discard the rest. Mostly, that's maybe oversimplistic, because there may be some spaces where you don't mind just getting that flooded out. And Scripture of Defiance. 1 counselor player rerolls the die for an action just failed and attempts its action again. If the new result is lower than the original, gain 1 mystic energy. Knowing my luck with dice, anything I can mitigate is probably going to be a good thing, so I'm going to keep the Scripture of Defiance and put Foresight back on the bottom of the deck. Which means the leader comes back as well. So now if we work counterclockwise, aka line of dance. Yes, I know it's been a while since I've done anything with the dance front, but I did used to be a dancer in past life. So we now get to start trying to gain stuff. So we'll bring the dice tower into shot. We've got the astrologer leader here trying to make a roll of a 3, in this case a 4, to get some gold. That's a 3. I don't think that it's worth using a Mystic Energy this early, especially since we got kind of done over by an earthquake there this early. Then we got the Artificer's workers, excuse me, who are both trying to make 5 to get some gold. Which they managed to do. So the Artificer now has 2 gold to work with. So the Artificer's workers come back. Then the Astrologer's outermost worker has a roll of a 3 to make to try to get ore. That's a 5, so the astrologer gets an ore, which will bring over and bring the worker back. And then each of red and yellow, so the artificer and the astrologer each have a roll of, I'll roll these one at a time. So the astrologer first, I'm going to get some different colored dice after this round. The astrologer gets another ore. We'll probably be going to try to convert that pretty quickly here. And then the artificer has a roll of a 4 as well to try to get ore. That's a 1, so the artificer fails miserably to get ore there. And then the artificer's leader means the artificer gets 2 more mystic energy. So that's all handled. So that's the end of the take actions part of the round. Then we would flood, actually add that up for a demonstration. We actually don't flood any tiles right now, but we do advance on the Wrath of the Gods track. It's going to be a little bit off shot, but we will advance up to 1 on that track. So first player then passes over to the Guardian, and now we'll move into round 2. Hold up. So the round actually is not over yet, but I'm glad I got the dice already. So I've actually switched out the dice for everybody. So the Guardian's now going to be using light blue dice, and the Astrologer is going to be using yellow dice. So the Astrologer needs to make a roll of a 5. The Guardian has 2 6s that she needs to make to get crystals. And remembering that we actually have a 5 to make on the Astrologer, I will spend a mystic energy for the Astrologer to get a crystal, whereas the Guardian gets completely shut out. So all the workers come back. Then we still advance the Wrath of the Gods track up after we would flood tiles, but since we have no tiles to flood right now, we don't flood anything there. Now that I'm done being an idiot about that, now first player passes the Guardian, and now we're ready for a new round. Now with Derp episode over, now we get to place our workers. So this time, I think we're going to be sending the Astrologer to do a lot of forging, so I think we're going to use the Guardian to protect the... I'm going to use the Guardian's leader primarily to protect the forge. I mean, it's going to be a wasted... Well, maybe I can set this up so it's not a wasted action. So I'll send the Guardian over to... Actually, we'll bring the leader down a little bit. I'll send both workers to get more ore, and then I'll send the other one to get some crystals. Yeah, we can start on crystals. The Astrologer is only going to place 1 worker for now, because, remember, I can place her workers after we suffer misfortunes. So I'm going to send her to get more cards, because that's probably a good thing to do. Then the Artificer is going to send her leader to the entropy drive so we can get more try to get more resources that way. Then her workers are going to go try to get ore, forge, and try to gather crystals. Okay, that will do it for placing workers for now, but we have to suffer misfortunes first. So first off the deck we find Calm Seas, nothing happens. That's very welcome. Second misfortune, the forests flood. That's unfortunate, but that's also why I don't try to put anybody on the outermost tiles if possible, at least early in the game. Next up, the city's floods. That's going to be a big problem. We might have to do a little bit of unflooding there. Let's see, that was 3. So the last one we find, No whammy, no whammy, no whammy. Plague. Each counselor returns one Atlantean from play to their pool, which probably means they can't be used this turn. So I'll pull the Artificer's worker who's trying to get Crystal back. We'll pull the Crystal back for the Guardian as well. And then the only one that was in play is the Astrologer, who I'll put that on her side because I can't place her this round. So now the Astrologer is going to place her workers. So we'll send 2 of her workers to Forge. And then we'll send her leader to get more cards. Okay, so now we'll start from the libraries and we'll work our way around in a circle. So we'll start up here, where the Astrologer will get to draw 2 cards and keep both of them. So she will draw. Raise the levies, discard 1 Atlantium, then place 2 Mystic Barriers. That might be tempting once we get some Atlantium in hand. Next up, Ballad of Courage. This round, whenever any of your leftover followers would be returned to your pool when a tile floods, they first immediately take their action. So which is actually not that good to have with the Astrologer, because we can place we can place tiles, or place leaders and up to 2 workers after we suffer misfortunes. So again, that's probably not that useful in the grand scheme of things. Next, we'll move down to the mountains to try to get ore. We have 2 of the Guardian's workers and 1 of the Artificers. Everybody needs to make 3s to get it. Which we can probably get a lot of our Atlantium in one shot if this works out. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 8. We actually might be able to get almost all of the Atlantium we need if this works out. Because we're going into this with 2 ore on the Astrologer already. Alright, so the Guardian gets 1, and the Guardian and the Artificer each get 1 ore. So we'll put those there. Oop, Guardian, not Astrologer. Although the Astrologer, we are going to be using a lot of ore this round. So those workers come back. And then everybody turns in. The Astrologer will turn in 2 ore to get 4 Atlantium back for 2 workers there. The Guardian and the Artificer will each turn in 1 ore and get 2 Atlantium back. So that is actually most of what we need. So 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. 2 for the Artificer, 2 for the Guardian, and 4 for the Astrologer. Alright, then all those workers come back. Then we still have the Dice Tower and Shop because we have the Artificer leader over on the entropy drive, so we get to roll a die, and we get to collect based on the roll. Let's see what we get here. A 2 gives us a volunteer, so that's a worker that's an additional worker that we can use next turn. So the leader comes back. I think we've got everybody off now. And then we flood tiles. So at this point, I might need maybe well, I do need 2 more. I'm going to need 2 more Atlantium for the power core. So I think I just flood the outermost mountain tile. Then we'll move the Wrath of the Gods up, so we're still flooding 1 tile. But anyway, right, we got all the workers back. That will do it for round 2. The Guardian will become first player. And that will move us, or not the Guardian, the Astrologer will become first player. And then we'll move into round 3. Looking at the board right now, the Artificer has 2 gold, 2 Atlantium, and... yeah, 2 gold, 2 Atlantium, and 4 Mystic Energy. So... I need 1 more crystal and I can build the entropy drive. Actually, I need a crystal is what I need to be able to build that. So... I think what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of play a little bit of a long game here. So I'm going to put one of the Artificer's workers here on the forest so I can try to get crystal. Then I'm going to send a worker up here, hoping that I'll have enough, that I'll get a crystal to be able to build the entropy drive this round. Then we'll bring the other worker to the mountains to try to get some more ore, because we are going to need more for the power core eventually. Then I will send the leader. Can we use the worker to build? I have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure I can use the worker. You can use a worker to build. Must have 1 or more Atlanteans. So yeah, it looks like I can use a worker to build a component. The only thing I can't use a worker for is to build the power core. I need all the leaders there. So I'm going to send the Artificer to... let's put her trying to get more gold, because we are going to need that. And the Astrologer, I should actually be placing the Astrologer first, but remember, I can place 2 of her leaders after, leader and 2 of her workers after I suffer misfortune. So I'll put 1 worker there. And the Guardian, more cards could be a good thing. The cities is advancing pretty fast for comfort, so I think we might as well start trying to get some more workers. So I'll put the leader there. I'll put a worker here. Then I'll go trying to get some more crystal, and we'll send another one out to get some more gold. But anyway, now we'll suffer misfortunes, then I'll finish placing the Astrologer. So first card up. The Forge's Floods again. I don't know of anybody using that yet this round. That might change, though. Card 2. Writing and Looting. Each counselor loses 1 resource of their choice. That hurts. Saw that Atlantium we got last round? We're kind of ripping apart our supply of that. That's rather unfortunate. That might affect my ability to build this round. Card 3. The Hills Floods, which is this tile over here where we're trying to get gold. And card 4. Spur the Cycle. Reshuffle the Misfortune discard pile into the deck. The current player doesn't draw an additional Misfortune. If Spur the Cycle is discarded, reshuffle the Misfortune discard pile into the deck. So I think the way that would work is if we would discard it as part of revealing the top however many cards of the deck, we'd reshuffle the Misfortune discard pile in. So we'll give this a quick shuffle. Okay, so we'll give that a cut, and then we'll be good to go. Now we'll place the Astrologer leader and her other 2 workers. So we're going to go... I think we're going to try to rebuild a little bit of that Atlantium supply that we had. So we'll place there. Then we'll place a worker at the forge so we can immediately smelt it. And we'll try to get some crystal. So we'll start off with the Guardian leader and worker that are up here at the cities. Remember, I need at least 2 workers up there to be able to trigger that roll to begin with. We'll bring the dice tower back into shot. And because of the current level of the Wrath of the Gods track, I'm going to be adding 1 to this roll to try to get the Guardian an additional worker. So let's see what happens. So at least an 8. Actually, a 6 is not unusable, but I'd prefer a 7 or up. A natural 9, that works too. So we'll bring the Guardian another worker. Then we'll retreat these 2 back to the pool. Then working around in a circle, we'll go to the hills next, where the Guardian's worker and the Artificer leader are both trying to get additional gold. The Guardian gets it, the Artificer does not, and I don't want to spend 2 mystic energy to boost that up. Right now I don't think we're in a bad enough place to worry about that for the time being. So the Artificer leader comes back and the Guardian's all done. Actually, the Guardian's not quite done yet, but the Artificer and the Astrologer are each trying to get ore. Everybody needs a 3 here. Alright, the Artificer and the Astrologer each get 1. I'm not going to use... I don't have 3 mystic energy to use to bump the Artificer back up. Or to bump the Astrologer up over the top there. I would need 2 mystic energy to do it, and that doesn't seem worthwhile right now. Oh! I forgot the Artificer had a volunteer. I guess I'll just put that here, so that wouldn't have affected anything. Anyway, well, that does kind of affect things a little bit, but... So we've got everybody trying to get at least 1 crystal. The Astrologer's got 2 shots... Not the Astrologer. The Artificer has 2 shots at it because she's got a volunteer there. The volunteer will go back up to the Wrath of the Gods track when this is over. And of the 3, only the Guardian gets a crystal. Which actually might not be a terrible thing, because we might be able to build something this round. So, Guardian worker goes there, Artificer worker goes here, Astrologer leader comes back, volunteer goes back to the pool. Then the Astrologer will turn that ore that she just got into 2 more Atlantium. Okay. Bring that worker back. Then we'll move over to the components board. So even after we got hit with rioting and looting last round, where we had to lose a resource, it turns out that we still can build something. So I'll spend the Atlantium and 2 gold. Yeah, the Atlantium and the 2 gold to build. What was I looking to build? Yes, oh yes, the secular bulwark. So once we flip this over to its builded side, we'll put that up in the power, in the built components, and then we get to unflood a flooded tile. So with that, we'll move back over to the board, A, to unflood something, and B, to endure the Wrath of the Gods. The cities has been getting kind of flooded like crazy, so we'll go ahead and unflood that. And then for the Wrath of the Gods, we'll flood the outermost library tile. Then we'll advance the Wrath of the Gods track up to 2. Then the Artificer will become the first player, and we'll move into a new round. I also had to bring the Artificer's last worker back. But now we're into round 4. So looking at our situation, the astrology, we can actually build 2 components this round. So I think we'll send the Guardian, well, the Guardian will send a worker over to the component board, as will the Astrologer, and then we'll sit tight on that. The Guardian and the Artificer both have to place their workers. So I think we'll send the Guardian, I think we'll try to get some, I think we should try to work on getting some more workers, actually. So now that the roll is actually worthwhile, I'll send the Guardian here. Then we'll try to go get some more, what do we need? We need more crystals. So I'm going to send the Guardian's workers here, into the forest. Then the Artificer, I think we have, do we have enough Atlantium right now? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but I've got to remember I'm going to be using 3 of it this round. I'm going to be building that and that most likely. So I think we need some more. I do think we need some more Atlantium ultimately. So I'm going to send 2 workers to get more ore. I'll send 1 to try to get some more Atlantium. Where do I risk it? I think I will have to risk it there. Yeah. And I'll put the leader over on the Mystic Siphon. And now we'll suffer misfortune. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to have to risk it here. So the Astrologer will play the Ballad of Courage. Well, I don't think that's worth it. I think if we've got everybody out there, then if we've got everybody furthest out, then we risk that. But yeah, so, okay. So we'll just go ahead and suffer misfortunes. So Misfortune 1 floods the libraries out. Next up, Malfunction. No components may be used or built this round. Well, that shuts a lot of my turn off. Controlled flood, so we have to flood 2 tiles. So I think we go... no, that's dumb. I think we go 1 for the mountains and 2 to the hills. And that was 3, so 4. Calm seas, nothing happens. I was going to move over to the component board after this, but I think we'll resolve those first, since we can't use or build any components this round. Actually, before we do that, I did forget to place the Astrologer leaders. So, now that we know no components can be used or built this round, I think we just work on gathering stuff up for that. So I'll just send the Astrologer workers to get some more gold and some more crystal. So now we'll move into the take actions phase, which means the leaders over at the workers and the leader over at the component board come back, but we don't get their actions. So next we'll start off in the cities, where we've got the Guardian trying to make a 9+ roll to get workers. And remember, we need at least a 7. So we'll get the Guardian's dice. A natural 11 will do it. So the Guardian will get another worker. These 2 will come back. We don't have anybody at the library, so the dice tower is fine there. Next, we've got the Astrologer over in the hills trying to get more gold. We need to make a 4 there. We get 1 gold, and I'm not going to spend 2. I don't have 2 mystic energy to spend. That's kind of a setback. That losing the components, losing the ability to build components this round really set me back this round because I was banking on having 2 components done this round. But anyway, the Artificer's workers are now trying to get more ore. We get another 2 ore. So I'll probably have all the Atlantium we ever need. I'll probably send the Artificer over to the matter converter next round so I can swap some of that ore out and get what we need. Anyway, now we've got the Guardian workers and the Astrologer leader trying to get some more crystals, and we need 5s there. And we get completely shut out there. That's unfortunate. And then the Artificer's worker is going to convert 1 ore into 2 Atlantium. So now that will come back. And now we have to, once I get the dice tower out of shot, or at least out of my way, I'll put that over here. Now we have to flood 2 tiles. So I think we flood this forest and this mountain, since we're probably about to have enough ore for what we need. But anyway, that will do it for round 4. The Guardian will become our first player, and we'll move into round 5. Losing last round to a malfunction was annoying, but probably not fatal yet. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to kind of take this round to focus on rebuilding resources. So let me look here. Right, we'll send the Guardian over to the component board to try to build something. We'll do the same thing with the Astrologer. Then I think what we're going to do here is we're going to go. We're actually going to send 2 of the Artificer workers there. Then we'll put the Guardian workers here and here on the forest. We'll send the Guardian leader to the hill, try to get gold, and the Artificer will send here and to the... Actually, we'll send the Artificer's workers to the cities. The reason I'm going so far outermost is because we're actually going to go ahead and play the Ballad of Courage this round. So, this round, whenever any of your followers would be returned to your... Oh, that's only for the... Okay, I had a plan with that, and that plan kind of blew up in my face. So, yeah, whenever any of your followers, so that applies only to the Astrologer. The Astrologer is actually probably the worst place that could have gone. So, I think we still kind of have to risk it here. But, anyway. So yeah, I think we're going to have to risk it here. But anyway, so now we're placed out, so now we suffer misfortune. So 4 cards from the misfortune deck we find. Darkness. Discard 9 cards from the top of the library deck. That sucks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Coming off the top of the library deck. And we find 2 of our artifacts, which some of these could have been very useful. But once again, nothing we can do there. So that's card 1, which basically dismantled the library deck. Card 2, the Hills Floods, which I will return the Guardian Leader to the pool to prevent that action. I forgot to place 1 Guardian Worker. Yes. I'll put it up trying to get more ore. Actually, I don't think we really need ore right now. I'll go to the libraries. Card 3. The cities, which that plan kind of backfired in my face. So the leader and the worker come back. And Plague. Each player returns 1 Atlantean from play to their pool. So we'll pull the worker back there for this libraries. Well, that comes back here from the astrologer. And then one of the Artificer's forge workers goes away. So this is going to be a short round for actions. But we do get to place the astrologer's workers. So we'll place one of the workers back at the component board. Then we'll go try to get another worker with the astrologer. So we'll bring the dice tower back in shot. And then the cities with the astrologer is where we'll start. So we need once again we need a 9 there, and we have 1 mystic energy. Alright, that's a natural 9, so we get another worker for the astrologer. And those come back. Then we have a roll of a 4 to make for the guardian to try to get some more crystal. Which I will spend a mystic energy to get because we're starting to get down to it a little bit here. So we'll trade a mystic energy for a crystal, essentially. Then we've got... No, that was for gold, actually. Never mind. Let's try that again. So there's the gold. Now we're rolling for crystals, but we need 5s to get there. How many do I need here? Ideally 2. Ideally I get both of these, but that requires some really good dice rolling. Which I do need 1, so I will spend another mystic energy. Now I'll actually get a crystal. Okay, so those workers come back. Then the Artificer's last worker will smelt an ore into 2 Atlantium. And then we'll move over to the component board. The plan for last round had been to build the cognitive transfer and the auger turbine, but the malfunction put the screws to that plan. This round, however, I think I've changed some of the components that I want to build. So with access to Atlantium, kind of, I would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We actually no longer need access, really, as long as nothing goes crazy, to the mountains or the forge. So I think now we take the opportunity. Now I think we actually spend 2 crystals and a gold to build the Mystic Siphon. So now that opens up the action to anybody to go up there and immediately gain 2 mystic energy. So the Guardian has built that. Then the Astrologer is going to spend 1 of each, so an Atlantium, a crystal, and a gold to build the Cognitive Transfer, which, as we recall, will let us draw 3 library cards and distribute them among the counselors. So we'll put that up into the built component board. Alright, so 3 cards from the library deck we will find. First up, the Codex of Continuity. Discard 1 drawn misfortune before it resolves, so we can stop like a controlled flood with that or something if we need to. Then, the Rune of Reprieve, which will let us unflood 1 flooded island tile. And an artifact, the Elemental Hammer. Each time you take the Forge's action, you may replace 1 Atlantium with another resource of your choice. which is probably not that handy right now. Well, actually, that might be handy if we can unflood the forges. So I think what we'll do here is we'll give the elemental hammer to the Artificer. We'll give the Rune of Reprieve to the Guardian. And we'll give the Codex of Continuity to the Astrologer. So we'll try to save that primarily for a controlled flood when that comes up. But now we'll bring the Astrologer's last worker back over. Then we'll move back to the board to deal with the Wrath of the Gods. Okay, looking at the Wrath of the Gods, we're going to be enduring... I think we're going to flood the libraries. And we're going to flood the No, I don't want to flood the forges because we're about to go crazy with that. I think we're going to flood the hills and lose a little bit more access to gold. But anyway, that will do it for the Wrath of the Gods. The Astrologer will now become our first player. And then we will move into round 6. Actually, yeah, round 6? Wait a minute. Something's not right. Well, we should be a lot further along the Wrath of the Gods track than that if it's round 6. But anyway, let's move into a new round. We're not quite in dire straits here yet, but I'm hoping this elemental hammer from the Artificer will help us turn things around. So, I'm going to put 2 of the workers over here for the Artificer. Then I'll send the last worker over to... Actually, we're going to take a crazy risk here. So we're going to send both of the Artificer's workers over to the ore and the forges. Then I'll send the Guardian's leader over to the... I'll actually put one of the Guardian's workers on the mountains to try to get some ore. Then I'm going to put the leader over on the forges along with one of the Guardian's workers. We'll try to get... We need gold too, so I'm going to put the Guardian's workers over at the hills to try to get some gold. And we'll put one of the Guardian's workers in the forest to try to get some crystal. Anyway, now we'll send the Astrologer's workers over. Actually, we'll send one up to the Mystic Siphon to get some more Mystic Energy. And we have a mess of Atlantium, so... I think we'll actually raise the levies here. So we'll discard 1 Atlantium, which I have right here. Then we'll place 2 Mystic Barriers. So we'll give the forges an additional line of defense, and we'll place a Mystic Barrier... we'll place a Mystic Barrier here, closer to the forges, so we know that's protected. And then we'll protect the... We'll protect the cities as well. Let's see here. Okay, choose... Okay, so then I'll have the Guardian also toss the Librum of Unity, and I'll choose a Wild Peninsula. Actually, I'll probably save that when I'm gathering resources, but I'll be gathering a lot of them most likely. Anyway, we have an additional worker for the Astrologer, so we have 1 worker to place, and I don't think we can build anything yet. But what does a success just let us build? A success in Crystal Land would just let us build, so I'm going to go ahead and gamble here. So I'm going to take a little bit of a chance. But anyway, I think that's worth it. I think that's worth a shot here. So anyway, now we endure misfortune. So first up we have the mountains floods. So that could end up being very bad. We may have to do a little bit of unflooding there. Card 2. The Forests, which loses us a crystal. So loses us access to a crystal space. Card 3. The Hills, which loses us access to a gold space. That's not that catastrophic right now. And the Forest, which actually cost us another crystal space, and then that cost the Guardian a worker. So that's rather unfortunate. Now we need to look to the Astrologer and see, okay, what does a success just let us build this round? I don't think there's really, well, actually a success in the Forests would let us just build the Auger Turbine on the spot. So we'll place there. And then we will go to... Actually, I'm dumb. What I could have done, actually, there... I actually had one there. What I could have done, and I will... I'll actually back this up. I'll actually discard the Codex of Continuity to stop the second Forests from resolving. And then we'll put the Guardian's worker back there. Then I'll place a worker there, and a worker at the outermost libraries tile to discard 2 and keep 1. So, we're actually going to do this a little bit out of order. So normally I'd move over to the component board for this, but I'm going to start off with the Astrologer's Mystic Siphon action to give the Astrologer 2 more Mystic Energy. So there's that going to the Astrologer. Now we'll start working around the board. So I'll start with the Astrologer's Leader. We'll be drawing 2 library cards and discarding 1. Library deck's starting to get down there a little bit. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards left. So we might consider using the libraries as our flood target. Card 1. Doctrine of Persistence. Choose a wild peninsula. Any Atlantean that has or will fail in action there may be laid on its side instead of being returned to its counselor's pool. Next round, these Atlanteans automatically succeed. And the Spirit Charm. Once per round, you may add 1 to the result of a die rolled by any counselor. We're going to keep that and discard the Doctrine of Persistence. So that brings that leader back. Next we'll move over... Sorry. This cold is still not wanting to go away. But anyway, we'll move over to the Hills next, where the Guardian is going to have 2 rolls trying to get more gold, but we need 5s to do it. We are fresh out of Mystic Energy, unfortunately, so hopefully we're not going to do too much whiffing here. That is way more whiffing than I want to be doing right now. So unfortunately we get shut out on gold. Hopefully ore will give us a better result with the... especially with the Artificer. So we need 4s all around to get more ore. Okay, the Guardian gets shut out. The Artificer gets 1 ore, but... only gets 1 ore. That's still going to work out for me because I've got the leader. So I've got the Artificer leader and one of her workers at the forges as well, where we're converting 2 of those. Help if I go to the right color space. So the Astrologer and the Guardian are each going to have shots at getting crystal next, but we need 6s all around. And we get crystals all around. So the Astrologer gets 2 and the Guardian gets 1. So Guardian gets 1 and the Astrologer gets 2. And that means my gamble will ultimately pay off. More on that when we move back over to the component board. But all of those come back. Then moving over to the forges, I mostly had the Guardian workers, mostly had the Guardian there to help protect the space for the Artificer. So we'll bring the Atlantium, we'll get 2 Atlantium and 2 gold, I think. So 2 Atlantium and 2 gold. Alright, and now we'll move back over to the component board. So the gamble actually paid off here. Where the astrologer will get to spend a crystal and 2 Atlantium to build the auger turbine. Which will let me draw 3 misfortunes, discard any number, then return the rest to the top of the deck. So what we find here, cities, which is probably, well, I don't mind that because the barrier can hit that. That can hit the barrier. Calm Seas, which I'm absolutely putting back on top. And Forests, which I'm going to discard that. So I think we'll go Calm Seas and the cities. Let's actually toss. No, we'll leave the Calm Seas and the cities on top. Then we'll move back to the board to endure the wrath of the gods. So I think I figured out what the problem was. I had a feeling something wasn't right if I was at round 6 and not that far down the Wrath of the Elder Gods, the Wrath of the Gods track. So we should be getting ready to go into flooding 3 tiles, starting to flood 3 tiles next round. But anyway, I think for the time being, these leaders should be off the board, by the way. So I think for the time being we go, I think we just flood the libraries and the forest. I'll take the barrier from the forges. Anyway, that will do it for this round. The Artificer becomes our first player, and we'll move into a new... Actually, we'll remember to advance the Wrath of the Gods track, but now we're flooding 3 tiles every turn, every round, so that's going to be very bad. But anyway, that will do it for this round. Now let's move into a new round. Okay, what I need most right now is crystals. So the Artificer is going to place 2 workers on the mountains. Then once again, actually I gotta have a worker go build. I need to have the Artificer build probably the matter converter. So I'll send a worker over there, over to the component board, and I'll put the Artificer work leader over here, and then I'll spend 4 mystic energy to place a barrier back at the forges. Mostly so I can protect that space this round. Also, wasn't there a card I wanted to use from the... Ooh, that can get nuts. But that's not what I want to do right now. So we'll choose the Librum of Unity from the Guardian, so we can place a... So we'll choose a peninsula, choose a wild peninsula, so either the forest, the mountains, or the hills, and we can place 1 additional Atlantean on each of its tiles this round. So I think we're going to pick the forest, because we need to get a lot of crystal. Put that in the right discard pile, too. So since we need crystal, I'm going to put all 3 of the Guardians I'm going to put Guardians workers there, and I'll put 1 extra there. Then I'll put a worker here, and I'll put 1 on I'll put the leader on the forges to just get that an extra layer of protection, so I can pull that leader back if I need to. And the astrologer. I think we'll send the astrologer to try to get more gold, and some more crystal. I think the gamble here is going to be that a success. How many calm seas do we have? I know we've got one coming out. We've got another one in the discard pile, so that would shuffle 2 in. But that is another component that we need, although a success on a crystal would just let me build the mystic, would just let me build solar matrix on the spot. So anyway, let's go ahead and draw our misfortunes. This first one I believe is a calm seas. Yep. So we start with that. Second up is the cities that we left, which will just clear the barrier out of the way. Then third up, controlled flood, so we flood 2. Mystic barriers don't prevent these floods, so I think we flood the libraries and the cities. That was 3, and then card 4 is the forges, which just takes the barrier away. So, bullet dodged there. Anyway, now we'll start off with our actions. So we'll spring the dice. Actually, we got to place the astrologer's leaders, or the astrologer's leader and 2 followers. So I think the gamble here is going to be that I think we only need 1 crystal to succeed, and then we build. So we'll place a worker there. And then yeah, crystal just lets us build. Actually, crystals let us go crazy. Get 2 components built. So I'll place... I'll wait for next turn on that, actually. So I'll place a worker at... We'll try to get more gold, because I think that's going to be the next thing we're going to be pressed for. But... yeah, we'll place... trying to get some more ore. Anyway, we'll start off with resolving actions. So we have the 2 astrologer workers at the hills trying to get gold, and we need 5s on those. So we'll bring the dice tower back into shot. Two and 3, so the astrologer gets shut out there. Next we'll move to the mountains, where we've got the astrologer, where we've got everybody with workers. The artificer has 2, and the guardian and the astrologer each have 1, and we need 4s all around. And we get 4s all around, so everybody gets an ore. Which I don't mind that too much, because now I can at least use the Artificer's elemental hammer again. So workers return, worker, and leader. Then moving over to the forest, we have the astrologer with 2 shots to try to get crystal, but we need 6s on these. The spirit charm is still usable, though. So I do need to... Ow! Hit my head on the table. There we go. Alright, so there's the astrologer trying to get crystals. And we need 6s on these. Which that's Bubkus. And then the guardian is going to roll 4 dice. So we need 6s all around to get crystals for the guardian. And we get 1. Which is really not what I want to see right now, but anyway, so bring all the Guardian's workers back. But anyway, now the Artificer will get an Atlantium, and what do we need here as we get ready to build? A crystal, I think. Yes, a crystal. So we'll get an Atlantium and a crystal. Then we'll get another Atlantium out because the Guardian is going to be converting that as well. So, yeah. Okay. So leaders come back, and then we'll move over to the component board so we can see what the Artificer is going to be getting up to. Alright, so the original plan had been to build the matter converter here. But I think for a crystal, 2 gold, and 2 Atlantium, we're actually going to go ahead and build the entropy drive, so that'll open up the converting action for us, or the just collecting action for us, which is actually probably not a terrible idea, but we are definitely getting up against it here. So anyway, that will do it for the take actions part of the round. Now we'll move over to the board so we can endure the wrath of the gods. Hitting the libraries right now is very tempting, but the problem is that turns any library cards that are still in the Misfortune deck into controlled floods, and that means we would have to hit 2 instead. So unfortunately, I think this is fine actually. So we'll flood the Forge, which I'll actually discard Rune of Reprieve to immediately flip back. We'll flood the Forest. And we'll flood the cities, I guess. We're not really in a good way here, but I think that's the best. We're definitely not in a good way, but I think that's the best we're going to be able to do with that. Anyway, that will do it for the round. Now we'll move into a new round where our Guardian becomes the first player. There's a lot of the board gone right now, so I think our one chance is to rely on the Elemental Hammer and protect the Forges like they're fine china. So with that in mind, I'm going to make sure the Guardian goes over there. Now, the Guardian Leader goes over there. Then I'll deploy the Artificer to try to get more ore, and then keep at the Forges like crazy. Then as for the Guardian's Leader, we actually, looking at the board over here, we actually have the crystal that we need to build a couple of these out. So I think what we'll do is well, we definitely are going to need mystic energy, so I'll send a couple of the Guardian's workers over there to get some mystic energy, and then we really need to get crystals, so we'll go ahead and deploy all 3 to the outermost crystal space. Then as for the Astrologer, we'll place 2 workers now, 2 after the board floods, or after we suffer misfortunes. We'll place 2 up here to try to get some gold. But actually, is there any combined we can build right now? I don't. We have 3 crystal. Actually, you know what? Change of plans. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to send the... We're actually going to deploy one of the Guardian's workers to the board instead, to the component board instead, and then I'll plan on deploying one of the Astrologer's workers there this round. I forgot you can actually combine components to build some of these... Forgot you can combine components to build, but anyway... I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, because now we have to suffer misfortunes. So first up we find Earthquake. This round, all target numbers are increased by 1. That could be a problem. I'll leave that out as a reminder. The libraries floods out, so now like as I was mentioning during the Wrath of the Gods, any libraries tile, or any libraries card is now effectively a controlled flood. So card 3. Calm Seas, nothing happens, that's very welcome. Card 4. Another Calm Seas, nothing happens. So the Guardian leader was on the forges to protect that, so it comes back. Now we've got a mess on our hands. So first up, we'll roll for gold, but we need sixes now. Help if I give the players the right colored dice. Actually, we place the astrologer's workers first. So I'll place a worker there at the component board, a worker here, and the leader will go over to the component board as well. So now we'll roll for the gold, the aforementioned gold. We get 1 gold because, remember, target number, we would have gotten 1 gold anyway, but we only get 1 gold because, remember, target numbers... Actually, no, we don't. We have to spend a mystic energy to get it first. So we spend a mystic energy to get a gold, because, remember, target numbers were increased by 1 this round. So we did need to do that. Then we have to roll for red, and remember, target number there is 5. We get Bubkiss there, which means that turn becomes useless. But we do get to convert the ore into an Atlantium for the astrologer at the forges. And then we can't make any of those rolls because we can't roll a 7 on a... Actually, can it increase above a 6? Can a single die increase above a 6? I would imagine it could. But... I think we would have to be able to spend the mystic energy. So I don't... But yeah, I think that's how we'd have to rule that. So... Yeah. So I think we just lose all of these workers. Then we'll move over to the component. Wait a second. I'm going to do this in a different order. So normally I'd move over to the component board, but this is too urgent. So I'm going to return the Guardian worker over at the Mystic Siphon to get 2 Mystic Energy. And then we can roll the dice, at least. That way if we get 2 6s, I can spend 2 Mystic Energy to immediately get the 2 crystals. Which... No. And then I've got 1 more roll, which is even worse. So I get completely shut out there. That earthquake was very ill-timed. Then the astrologer gets 2 mystic energy as well. And then we'll move over to the board. We'll move over to the component board and see what we're building. The Guardian's going to spend 2 crystals to build the solar matrix, which lets us... Which once we flip it over... lets us place a mystic barrier. So we're going to place the mystic barrier at the forges. Then the astrologer will spend a crystal and a gold for the pressure keel, which will shuffle all the calm seas back into the deck. So we'll return workers. Find the calm seas. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was actually very welcome timing. So we get to shuffle these back into the deck. Then we'll have to move over to the board and flood tiles. Enduring the wrath of the gods. Okay, so now that that's shuffled up, let's move over to the board and endure the Wrath of the Gods. Okay, so for the Wrath of the Gods, first tile removes the barrier. Then I think we remove the... I think we flood the forest and the mountain and take a little bit of a risk here. But anyway, that will do it for that round. I'm trying to protect that forge as long as I can, but I'm running out of time to be able to use it. Anyway, that will do it for this round. Now the astrologer will become our first player, and we'll move into round 9. Alright, I'm going to stop being a derp and remembering that I've actually got the Artificer, and I've got this mess of Atlantium on my hands, so I'm going to send her leader to the matter converter, which I can use because of the Artificer's ability, and we'll go to the... we'll send a worker there as well. Then I'll deploy up to try to get more ore, and over to the forges. The Guardian is going to protect the is going to try to protect the forges. And then we'll deploy for ore. I'm kind of taking a little bit of a risk here, but I don't really have time to care. Then we'll deploy to the forest to try to get gold. The astrologer is going to spend 4 mystic energy to place a barrier, and I'm going to protect the mountains because we really need that ore, especially with trying to get some of the more expensive resources that we need. I'm primarily relying on the elemental hammer to do that. Then the Guardian's actually got 3 more workers, so we'll deploy... we'll deploy 1 to the entropy drive, another to the mystic siphon, and a 3rd we'll try to get some more crystal. Then the astrologer is going to deploy a worker to the mystic siphon as well, and we'll deploy to the forest as well. So I'll have to see where everything lands before I determine where I'm placing the rest of the astrologer's leader and workers. So anyway, misfortune number 1 eats the barrier at the mountains. That has the potential to be really bad. Card 2. Libraries is effectively a controlled flood. So this is very bad. So we have to flood 2 tiles. I'll flood 1 forest, and I think I shut off the cities, even though that turns the cities now into a controlled flood as well. Card 3 is exactly what I was afraid of, the aforementioned cities. So unfortunately, I will have to flood the forges. I've been trying to protect that. I think we go 2 into forges right now. This is a very bad situation. So that was card 3 and card 4. Calm seas, nothing happens. Unfortunately, one of the most catastrophic things that could have happened did, because we lost the... Actually, wait a second. I am so stupid. This is exactly why I had the Guardian leader there. Remove the Guardian leader from the tile, from the same peninsula, and that tile can't be flooded. So, okay. Alright, so now I'll bring the dice tower back and shot, and we'll see if we can undo this catastrophe. Or if we might just be hosed at this point, but anyway, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So, we've got the Guardian leader, or the Guardian worker, first trying to make a roll of 5 to get more gold. That's a 1, that won't fly. Then we've got the Guardian and the Artificer both trying to get ore. We need 4s here. Which the Artificer gets. The Guardian will spend actually, the Guardian won't spend a mystic energy. I definitely need the Artificer to get it, though. Alright, then we have the Artificer and the Astrologer both trying to make 6s, which on a related note, I will have the Astrologer gain 2 Mystic Energy first. Again, normally I'd move over to the component board for this, but given that the Mystic Energy could end up coming in handy, I'd rather have it for this. So anyway, we need 6s for the Guardian and the Astrologer. Which the Guardian will spend a Mystic Energy to get a crystal. So that's moderately helpful. I mean, we're still kind of up a creek at this point, but at least we are pretending we have a chance at this. Then the Artificer will get a crystal out of this. Because remember, the Elemental Hammer lets us, each time we take the Forge action, we may replace one resource with another resource of your choice. So yeah. Now let's move over. We'll move that leader back, or that worker back, and now we'll move to the component board. Alright. The Guardian gets 2 Mystic Energy because she's got a worker there. Then we roll for the Entropy Drive. The Guardian was going to collect an additional resource. Or an additional something. It's upside down, so it's kind of hard to read. A 6 gets us a crystal. So we're not out of this yet, but we're not doing real hot either. And then the Artificer will swap out 2 Atlantium for 2 gold, I think. So we can try to build the matter converter next turn. But anyway, now let's move back over to the board once I get everything out of shot so we can endure the wrath of the gods. Basically, this phase amounts to turn one peninsula into a controlled flood. So let me look at the discard pile and see what's out. So cities. Okay, let me sort these out. So I just want to see how many are out. Forges. So I'm doing this sorting off camera so I can strategize which tiles. So I'm going to have to flood the 2 outermost forges that aren't flooded right now. Cities, hills, libraries. Does it give me a component list of how many of 36 basic misfortunes? So probably 6 of each. I definitely don't want to turn the forges into a controlled flood, so I think we flood 2 there. And then we turn... Well, cities is already a controlled flood, so I can't do that. I think we turn the forests into a controlled flood as well. But yeah, we're in very dire straits here. We could literally just lose the game when we go to suffer misfortunes this round. Unless I spend Mystic Energy to either flip over a tile or place a Mystic Barrier, which might not be neither one of which would be a terrible idea right now, but I'm pretty sure we're going to watch Atlantis sink all over again. But we're going to give it a fight to the end. But with that, though, let's move over to the Artificer and start round 10. The Artificer is going to send a worker over to the component board to build the matter converter this round. I'll put the leader on... We'll do it in a slightly different order. So I'll put the leader on the matter converter, and I'll put a leader and a worker on the matter converter. Then I'll build the matter converter. We'll move the... My plan is to convert the... I can't do that, actually, because I need 2... Because I need two Atlantium to be able to build the matter converter. So I think we'll place another worker on the... Actually, we'll place one on the forges. And the Guardian, we're getting very crowded here. I think the Guardian will put on Mystic Energy detail. Mystic Energy / Entropy Drive detail. And which space do I want to protect? I think I'm going to protect the ore. Do it like that. And then we'll put a worker on the... Actually, I've got a better idea. We can build I think we can build both of these this round. So I'll put a worker on the on the component board as well. And the astrologer is going to be full up. So we'll put everybody on... gathering Mystic Energy is not a terrible thing either. We'll do that for now, and now we'll suffer misfortunes. Like I said, with the worst draw, the game could just end right here. Or amount to it. So first up, the Forges, which is not quite game ending, but I'd say it's pretty close. Because now we can't convert Atlantium anymore. And I was kind of depending on that. The Libraries, which is basically a controlled flood. So we'll protect the... So we have to flood the hills. And then we can protect the... We can protect the mountains this round. Card 3. Calm Seas, nothing happens, but I think we're still up against it here. Card 4 is the Forges, and that does end the game on the spot because we flood the... Because we had the Forges fully flooded, so we have to flood the last space of the mountains. And then we have to flood the center tile. So once more, Atlantis drowns, and we have lost the game. So we'll go ahead and wrap this video up real quick. So Atlantis drowned, and we have lost the game. Kind of the way it was starting to look there for a while, but we made a fight of it. We made something of a fight of it toward the end. But that will do it for this playthrough of Atlantis Rising. Next week, we'll step back into the background campaign for Hero Realms. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.